The Wonderful 101 is one of the least known titles from the acclaimed developer Platinum Games. Released as a Wii U exclusive, the game garnered positive reception, but due to the console selling poorly, not a lot of people played it. Now Platinum Games has released the title for modern systems thanks to a massively successful Kickstarter campaign. The Wonderful 101 Remastered is a creatively charming adventure that often masks its difficulty with cute characters and bright colors. However, the game's core mechanics and poor camera can often lead to a lot of frustrating moments that artificially increase the game's difficulty. Players take control of various heroes, part of the Sentinel's planetary secret service called the Wonderful Ones, an organization created by the United Nations. The primary leader is Wonder Red, but eventually other members join the team over the course of the 10-hour adventure. Each member has a distinct color such as green, pink, or blue, and a specific weapon. Each of the characters has distinguished personalities, such as Wonder Blue's constant need to validate himself using his Valiantium blade, Red listing everything he knows about someone when meeting them, or Pink being quick to anger. The Wonderful Ones are humanity's greatest defense against the aliens' terrorist organization called the Girth-Jerk Federation, and this is the third war against the alien threat. Using an ability called Unite Morph, the Wonderful Ones can create massive tools and weapons to combat the alien force. Much of the narrative is pretty generic, but the characters' nature bring life to this bland story thanks to cartoonish personalities and the charm of the game's atmosphere. However, about 50% of the time, the characters can be just downright stupid. It's hard to discuss this without going into spoilers, but I didn't think there would be a child character I hated more than Ava from Borderlands 3, but the Wonderful 101 succeeds in that. Meet Luca, one of the main characters in the game, and he is petty, annoying, and somehow the most important character in this story because everyone else is just so incompetent. He's an elementary school student who's somehow able to keep pace with these heavily trained and armed soldiers and even outwit them. In one scene, he's able to remain hidden within the group somehow. I just couldn't understand how that happened.
If we don't hurry, they'll reach the super reactor.
Oh no!
Luca!
Sacre verte! Has he been with us all along?
There is only one major twist within the narrative that is actually pretty profound, but Luca just made everything in this story much worse. He was the most annoying character in the entire game. My god, I just wanted him to stop talking or just phase out of existence. Platinum Games is notorious for creating incredible action and fantastic combat mechanics, and for the most part, that's true for the Wonderful 101. The primary gameplay mechanic is using patterns to create weapons and tools from your allied heroes. You recruit heroes from the surrounding environment, and for an added bonus, you can even control them, with each new recruit having distinct statistics. To construct a primary weapon such as a gauntlet, sword, gun, whip, and other weapons you get over the course of the adventure, you must draw a specific design. For example, the gauntlet is a circle, the sword is a straight line, and so on. The system becomes increasingly more complicated since the patterns start to overlap halfway through the game, and a frustrating fight between the player and the game starts, with the player struggling to try and create the right pattern that game will recognize. When it works, the gameplay becomes hectic fights between powerful enemies and heroes. When it doesn't work, you want to punch your screen out of rage. There are shortcuts that make it easier for the game to recognize certain patterns over others, but eventually you'll have to make specific weapons during QTEs and destroying enemy defenses in quick succession that can become incredibly problematic. Since creating these weapons require energy that do regenerate over time, making a mistake can snowball, and since performance is rated based on time completed, combos, and damage taken, you can find yourself screwed from getting that pure platinum medal because the game refused to distinguish a zigzag from a hammer pattern. It also doesn't help that the patterns can be cut off due to enemy placements. The pattern recognition issues are amplified by the camera. This is an isometric title, but there are times when the camera will get too close that you cannot see the surrounding environment, and so far away that you cannot see the main party leader. When you have a full group of heroes, that main hero is clouded by the group of heroes, which means you can often take damage or miss platforms because you couldn't see the main hero. The enemy pool of the Wonderful 101 is diverse, and existing earlier enemies get upgraded over the course of the adventure. Enemies are dangerous, and the Wonderful ones will need every advantage since enemies can only be weakened or attacked with specific weapons during specific times, with Platinum Games reducing the tedium by providing unique environmental hazards and platforming challenges to break up the action. Platinum Games makes taking damage that more fatal by causing your heroes to scatter when hit with a powerful attack. You must then regroup by running towards your fallen allies to revive them or wait until they recover. Without a significant amount of heroes in your party, you cannot create some weapons or powerful variants of existing weapons, since you need to create larger patterns to make them more powerful, making avoiding damage just as important as ever. There are collectibles such as platinum coins and recruiting new heroes that allow access to more powerful upgrades that can be purchased using currency by getting high ranks during fights and collecting coins in the environment. There are also items on the field that recover health or provide additional advantage, but you're often discouraged from using these since they reduce your overall rank that is determined at the end of stages and during each fight. The boss fights are giant cinematic affairs that are always multi-phase. Each level ends with a huge boss fight, which is expected from Platinum Games, who are notorious for creating these amazing fights, complementing these encounters with incredible music and cinematic scenes. However, these encounters also highlight a major issue in the game: the lack of communication. Much of the Wonderful 101 systems, with the exception of the basics, are learned through experimentation. The game doesn't attempt to tell you critical information such as what weapons can counter certain attacks, and while I can see the appeal of this, figuring out what tactics work on what, there is a huge negative side to it. For example, you can reflect bullets using the hammer, but the game never tells you about this. In fact, I had to go on GameFAQs.com to figure out that you can reflect the minigun from a certain boss by using the hammer, because the game never tells you this. So you'll end up taking damage or dying because you do not know what tactics work against others, since the game never, again, explains any of this. And parrying and dodging are the most frustrating things that they do not explain. These are optional skills for some reason. I did read online that the Wii U version had the same issue, and here Platinum Games now made it that you can purchase very easily and earlier in the game. But my question is, why wasn't it given to the player at the beginning, since these are essential skills? This does make the game overall artificially harder. The game is lenient when it comes to failure, instantly restarting the player's position when killed, but it also means you will not get the coveted pure platinum medals that require near perfection during every combat situation and every stage. The platforming challenges are nothing truly significant. Most of them take advantage of the Wonderful One's abilities, such as building bridges, turning gears, and so on. It can be annoying when a new obstacle is presented and you have to guess what tool is necessary in a time-sensitive situation, but thankfully the checkpoint system is forgiving enough that if you make a mistake, you instantly restart. When everything clicks is where the Wonderful 101 shines, constructing weapons to take advantage of the enemy's weaknesses and chaining together patterns. The issue is that the game's reliance on a system that doesn't work 100% of the time in a game where it has to work 100% of the time is a problem. Take a game like God of War, where combat is essential. You can switch between weapons very easily with no problem whatsoever, but when there's a degree of failure when you need to switch between a sword, a gauntlet, a whip, or any other of these essential weapons, that leads to an incredibly frustrating moment where you feel like you're failing, not based on your skill, but based on luck. And in a game like this, where you fail most of the time based on luck, and if the game even recognizes what you're doing, yeah, that becomes an issue. The visuals of the Wonderful 101 is outstanding. It's full of color and detailed environments that is expected from Platinum Games' high quality work. The characters all have intricate designs, and that includes the enemies and locations, each teaming with lush details that put some modern AAA games to shame. Yeah, the mounts do move around statically, but that's a small issue with a game that looks and sounds this amazing. The musical score is impressive. It has that adrenaline-filled music that just gets you in the mood to take on these devastating creatures. It's not on par, in my opinion, with Astral Chain or Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, but it's definitely good. The voice acting has the same high quality as the musical score, and each character's voice actor matches the character's personalities. Except Luca, who just sucks generally. I really hate Luca. The Wonderful 101 is a great action-adventure title from Platinum Games, but it's also not the greatest game from this acclaimed studio. The fantastic boss fights and colorful cast of characters have that Saturday morning cartoon vibe, complete with witty and comical characters. However, the issues with the game's camera, pattern system, and lack of explanation just hampers the experience overall to such a large degree that it just can't be ignored. I cannot tell you how many times I cursed out loud because the game kept mistaking a bomb for a whip, failing to recognize the hammer design, or being unable to draw a specific pattern because of the damn camera. But if you're able to plow through all those issues, and I mean really plow through them, you'll find an incredibly creative and wonderfully designed title that really has a lot of potential for being an incredible franchise. It just needs a lot of work when it comes to the certain gameplay mechanics, and maybe give the player more control over the camera, because yeah, that was a major issue.
Could have been better.